Want to be healthy and help save the planet? Eat more legumes. That's what almost all the scientific research says. And thanks to hummus, that's chickpeas, Americans are eating more legumes. But mung beans? Look at them, aren't they cute? Most Americans have never heard of mung beans, much less tasted them. Happily, I know a couple of experts, and they're coming on Across the Fence today to help us make mung beans your new favorite legume. Hello, Vermont. So, are you ready to dig into mung beans? Literally, after watching this show, you'll be all set up to make and enjoy a delicious mung bean curry dish, courtesy of my guest today. I'm talking with Brian Griffith and Alexis Yamashita, both second-year students in the UVM Food Systems graduate program, and they've brought some mung bean curry with them for me to taste. Yay! Brian and Alexis, welcome.
Thank you.
So glad to have you two here today. Okay, before we get to tasting, let's set this up for everyone watching. Mung beans, they weren't on my radar. Where are they popular?
So mung beans are commercially available in most parts of Asia, so especially Southeast Asia, so the Philippines, Vietnam, Thailand, the Indian subcontinent, but also East Asia, so China and Korea.
Okay.
They're used a lot in both savory and sweet applications, so curry dishes like the dal that you'll be tasting today, but also sweet applications, so dessert fillings, sweet pastes.
Wow, so they're extremely versatile.
And they're also used for their sprouts as well.
For their sprouts, okay, yes, this is actually where I was most familiar with them because the white bean sprouts that you might have in like a stir fry, those are also from mung beans.
Sprouted from mung beans.
Sprouted from mung beans. Okay, so how did mung beans land on your radar?
So our work really focuses on increasing access to culturally meaningful seed varieties that are really underrepresented in our local seed access, and recognizing there are many communities in Vermont where this is a part of their traditional food cultures, but we really don't have access to local mung beans. So this is why we're doing the work we're doing to hopefully increase that access here in Vermont.
Okay, and so what were you doing? Like, what was the point of this project? You did some work with the Climate Kitchen this summer.
Yeah, so what we did is we collaborated with a program called New Farms for New Americans and really working with their farmers to evaluate different types of mung beans, not only for their culinary attributes of what is preferred, you know, what makes a mung bean taste good, but also for the quality of the seed too, and what would appear to grow well, and really trying to connect both of those of seeds that will grow here well in varieties and also ones that fit taste preferences.
Okay, so that's the Vermont connection. We're trying to figure out how do we grow a great mung bean in Vermont, but we also want to make sure that it has these great culinary attributes, and we're going to the experts. We're finding people who are like, this is a part of my diet, this is a part of my tradition. I'm the person who's going to tell you all about what kind of a mung bean we want. Okay, well that's great. So I love this. This is like a mung bean mystery. So tell me a little bit more then about working with New Farms for New Americans.
So working with New Farms for New Americans, we specifically worked with Bhutanese and Nepali farmers. The process that we undertook with our research is to really engage with them and
did they help you find a recipe that we would taste mung beans
Yes,
in?
yes.
Yeah.
So we started the summer off with a recipe that Alexis and our colleagues had worked on last summer.
Okay.
And
also in the Climate Kitchen.
Yeah, in the Climate Kitchen. And so we had access to over a dozen different commercially available mung beans in that are available for retail in the United States.
So it sounds like a mung bean is not a mung bean is not a mung bean. There's differences.
There are different varieties in terms of like size, color,
Okay.
taste, even down to like the bite in the outer shell of the legume.
Okay.
And so basically what we did was start to pare those down. We made dozens and dozens of this variation of this curry dish to sort of figure out in terms of from our colleagues and also our community partners, what worked, what didn't work. We even at one point after a meeting with our community partners at New Farms for New Americans, pared down the recipe. It originally had like tomatoes and potatoes, too much spice. We were trying to make the mung bean come out as much as possible in the taste of the curry dish, and essentially get to a point where we could start having these sensory evaluations.
And a big emphasis too was on the curry dish and developing the recipe. And as Brian was mentioning, we did a lot of work with 2 chefs from the community to really fine tune the recipe and make sure it's a recipe they're familiar with and that it also tastes good to them.
Yeah, right. Okay, I love this. And recipe development is not easy. So that's a very important piece of the puzzle. And then you get to this summer, and this summer then I guess it's Battle of the Mung Beans, right? So what was going on this summer?
So this summer, what we did, apart from the recipe development process, which, as you said, was not easy, it also took a lot of time because any of these dal dishes can take multiple hours, and so we would have 6 on the stove at once, multiple stoves.
It's a good thing you had lots of stoves.
And then what we did was start to research sensory evaluation protocols.
Which is what we're getting ready to do now.
Yes.
Okay.
Which are very science-y, and so one thing that we did with our community partners was really simplify and pare that down.
Good, and I'm glad you simplified it for me too, because I see I've got 3 here to, and I want to start tasting, so I'd be sure that we have enough time. So I've got green, red, and yellow. Those don't mean like go, stop, halt, or anything like that.
No, so traditionally in sensory evaluations, there's a 3-digit randomized code, but that can be a little bit confusing, especially for community members. So we simplified it in terms of color. And so what you're going to do is rank them based on 4 attributes. So the flavor of the mung bean, the texture, the appearance of it, what it looks like, and then how much you like it.
So sorry, I didn't wait. But I'm thinking, should I start with appearance since I'm looking at these? Because I can definitely see some differences. Like for example, the green one looks a little bit thicker, mushier. This is really fascinating too, because I would have thought that they would all kind of come out the same. And then this one, these two, very similar. I would say that by just looking at it, I'm probably the most attracted to the center one, the red. It has like a nice mix of beans and squishiness. I don't know if squishiness is the right word, but okay, so next I should do taste.
Yep, so in terms of the taste, you'll want to taste all of them, sort of get familiar with each of them, and then rank them from 1 to 3, most preferred, least preferred.
All right, so I'm tasting.
And then, of course, we have the forms that we take notes, so I'm going to
you're my
note
scribe.
your
I'm talking with my mouth full. Sorry about that. Okay, I'm paying attention to the taste. I like this. So this is the yellow. I'm taking another little bite. It's got lots of flavor. I like the texture of these beans. I have a lot of integrity. There's something there for me to kind of get my teeth into. I also notice there is like a nice earthy flavor to the beans. Okay, those are my observations, and I'm going to go to the next one, and then I'll see if I can circle back and see what I think. All right, let's try this one. So this one is the one that looks like it has a little more, it's less watery. Oh, it's funny. I just noticed that I always close my eyes when I eat. If I'm trying to taste something, I'm going to close my eyes.
You're just really enjoying it.
Little funny things, but this is actually something that people might try at home too. I mean, thinking about putting dishes that you're maybe familiar with, but maybe a dish too that's like not your total favorite. You're trying to figure out how to make it better. Do a little bit of focused tasting. Okay, so this one, also nice firm beans, probably a little bit less texture than I noticed in the yellow. Good flavor. I noticed the seasonings in this one. There's also a little kind of a brininess maybe to the flavor. I like that. Now I'm going to try green. Ooh, that one's exciting.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Very different texture. The texture is a little softer. In my mouth, when I'm chewing, it's like it's a little more like it's kind of falling apart on my tongue. I like that. And yeah, what's funny is I don't know if I'm going to come up with the right words to describe how it is so different in flavor from these two, but definitely the flavor of this one, it jumped out at me. Let's try one more. Yeah, this one's really nice. Again, it's got an earthy quality, but I can taste there's a little sweetness to this one too. I didn't notice sweetness in either of these two. I don't know. I think I would say that on appearance, I can't remember what I said I liked the most for appearance. Do you remember? Did I say the
red?
Red. Okay. Yes.
Yeah.
And now for flavor and texture, I'm going to kind of come out on the same. I'm going to say green is my favorite for both flavor and texture. And ultimately, of these three, I think that probably green is my favorite.
It's the one you like the most of all, which is the
It's
fourth
the one
attribute that we were testing
The fourth
for, yeah.
attribute. Okay, yes. So this is definitely the one that I liked the most. So what do I win?
The pride of a job well done.
What did we learn from that? Tell me what we learned.
So what we learned from the sensory evaluations, as researchers, one thing that we really learned was that hard science, something like sensory evaluation, which has tons of extant literature and a lot of research-based evidence behind things down to the aroma of the room that you're testing in, can be combined and worked with in terms of community engagement.
Yeah.
It was something that, as somebody with a background in culinary science, I actually really struggled with. But in terms of the tasting itself, we learned a lot from our community partners. I mean, we had pared down that recipe, basically down from like a hearty stew down to this like sort of just simple curry dal dish.
And then these, by the way, so these were 3 different brands,
They're
right?
3
Like
different
that was
brands,
the main thing that I was noticing. Okay, and so I ended up having, I guess, a favorite brand.
Yes.
Did your community partners have a favorite brand?
They had, and this was a tension that we noticed between familiarity and availability.
Okay.
That is a brand called Asian Taste.
Okay.
What was interesting is that like buttery texture, that creaminess was actually something that our community partners really valued in a dal, in a curry dish. But what was interesting is that the brands that they tended to gravitate toward was a brand called Swad, which I believe is the yellow one.
This one, okay, yellow, right?
Which we found was actually not preferred in the sensory evaluations. It was just what was commercially available and what.
So this was very familiar.
Yes.
So there was actually a bit of a not a disconnect, but there was a difference between what they were familiar with, and we all like to taste things that are familiar, right? I mean, it's like, it's comforting because
you know what you're working with.
You know what you're working with. But then there was something that was additional. They're like, wow, if I could get to this one, this would be fantastic. So in a perfect world, working backwards to the plant breeding, what would happen next?
Yeah, so what we're hoping next in the project is to take the information that we were able to learn from our community partners and really translate this to growing mung beans. So currently at the UVM Horticulture Farm, we have 54 different varieties of mung beans that we are trialing and growing.
Okay.
And they're from the USDA germplasm collection, just to kind of give a sense of there are many, many different varieties out there, lots of varieties.
And maybe 54 different dals and curries eventually that all need to be comparison tasted by a group of people. I can sign up for that. I'm ready for that one.
We'll keep you on the list.
Okay, I'm telling you, mung beans are the legume you didn't know you needed in your life. Seek them out at the grocery store or your local Asian market, or apparently, maybe potentially soon from the Hort Farm. You might find there are more varieties at the Asian market. And go to our website. The address is on the screen to get the recipe for today's dish. Also, consider this your invitation to get curious about your food. Is there a bean or legume dish you've made but you thought it's just kind of meh? Maybe the main ingredient needs tweaking. Try using dry in place of canned, or maybe canned in place of dry. Try a different brand. Taste is personal, so while you're tasting, pay attention to flavor and texture in particular and see if you notice a difference. Learn what you love. Maybe the only thing standing between you and a lifelong love affair with legumes is one bad bag of beans. You never know. So Brian, Alexis, thank you so much for joining me today. That was extremely fun. As always, Vermont, thank you for learning and exploring with me today, and thanks to the team that makes Across the Fence possible. I'm Amy Finley. This is Across the Fence. Come back and let's learn and explore again tomorrow.